Well, hello and welcome to the latest enthralling episode of One Dog and His Man.
What did I say?
During the meanwhilest.
During the meanwhilest. No, I
No,
don't
no.
like that at all.
It's Dexter and me, and we're back on YouTube with another exciting video. And today it's all about printing the image we shot and edited last week of that tree in the mist in Carmarthen. Now, I don't know about you, but I love printing my images. I think it's such a shame to take a lovely photograph and then just, stick it on your computer hard drive and look at it on a computer screen. It's not the best way to look at your images. But until probably about, a year ago perhaps, I didn't really take printing very seriously. I have this lovely Canon Pro 10S printer, and I just used to buy Canon paper, sometimes third-party ink, so I stopped doing that, and just, print the image without a second thought. I'd shove the paper in the printer and press print. Sometimes they would look fine, and sometimes they would look nothing like what was on my monitor. So I figured that I needed to up my printing game somewhat. So I, as I normally do, hopped on to YouTube to have a look at a few sort of printing gurus, and discovered that I needed to calibrate my, I got two monitors, so calibrate my monitors to make sure they are colour and brightness accurate, and also to make sure that I was using the correct profile, ICC colour profile, for the paper I was using, because I never really bothered with that before. Like I said, I just used to leave everything on auto, if you like, in Lightroom, and print away. But I've changed. Like I said, I bought I got one of these, what are they called? Spider 5, I think it is. Spider 5 Pro. I'll get it from the drawer. I don't really plan these videos very well, do I? One of these things, a Spider 5 monitor calibrator. What that does, it goes on your screen and measures color levels and brightness levels and performs some sort of demonology, and then gives you a more accurately calibrated monitor at the end of the day. So then the prints that I was getting off my Canon were far more accurate to the prints I was seeing on the screen, but they still weren't 100% accurate. So like I said, I decided to branch out into getting some different types of paper and downloading and installing the correct ICC profiles for that paper. And I made a short little video a couple of months back, towards the end of March or early April, showing how I did that. And now I'm a lot happier with my final printed results. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you. I'm not going to edit the photo again because we've edited it once, but what I'll do is show you on my screen how I go through print editing, then, if you like, the image, to make sure that the final result is exactly what I want, and I'm not wasting incredibly expensive ink, which I think is more expensive than myrrh, and paper, which I used to do in the past. Because what I used to do before was, if the print didn't look right, I just run off some sort of print adjustment in Lightroom, affecting brightness, and print it again until I was kind of happy, and then wonder why my inks were running out all the time. Anyway, yeah, without any further ado, let's pop onto my iMac screen now, and we'll go through the printing process for this image. Right then, editing for print and printing the lone tree image. Right, I shot 11 frames on the day, and the one I chose for final use was, where is it? This one, was it this one or no? This one. That's the right. This is the one. So this is when we edited in the last video, and this is the one I've chosen for print. I'm really happy with this image, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. But there are a couple of things you need to do before printing it. So I go into the develop module and click on soft proofing, and down at the bottom, and choose the paper that I'm going to be printing with, which is my photo speed pearl paper, and click the simulate paper and ink box here, and this will give you a reasonably accurate representation of what your print might look like. I say might. You've got to bear in mind that when you're looking at something on a screen, it's backlit, so it's heavily backlit, so the image is going to be a lot brighter on screen than it's going to be on paper. So before you print it, you really do need to lighten it somewhat, and I do that by boosting the exposure. So if I bring the exposure up a little, say I'll bring it up a full stop. That's too much. Third of a stop, 2/3 of a stop, and then you get this box here asking if you want to create a virtual copy for soft proofing, and I always do. So I'm now working on a copy of the image and not the actual image itself. Looking at this, there's not an awful lot to do to this image. I am going to add a little bit more contrast to it. And let's zoom in and see what the detail is like. It really was a very misty day, as you can see here. I mean, I focused on the tree trunk, and it's still there's a lot of mist in between the lens. Bear in mind I was a good, sort of, I don't know, probably 25 yards back from this tree. It was a fair amount of mist that day, so the image is going to be soft. It's not going to be crispy. I could introduce a little bit more clarity into it and some dehaze, and then that helps to boost that a little bit. I'm not going to touch saturation and vibrance because I wanted to desaturate this image, if you remember. Sharpening, though, is quite important before printing. Now, with high megapixel cameras, you don't really need to sharpen sort of master copy images. But when you're going to be printing something perhaps much bigger than this, then you do need to sharpen somewhat. Now I'm going to be printing a 19 by 13 image, which is, a reasonably large image, and I want it to be crispy and crunchy, but I don't want it to be overly so. So what I'm going to do is boost the detail in sharpening. Let's have a look at that. Now, you're not going to notice these sort of little artifacts. If I mean, look at that. That's hideous, obviously. I'm going to boost the sharpening to about there, and that's going to give me some nice, clearly defined lines. Let's look back at the original image, and then at my copy, original proof copy for printing, right? I am going to brighten it a little bit more, just a touch more, bring it up to say 3/4 of a stop of extra exposure, and that really is all I want to do. If you take anything away from this, and you probably won't, to be honest, because I'm not a printing guru, and this certainly isn't a printing masterclass by any manner of means, but try to make a soft proof copy and then simulate the paper and ink you want to use. You can see the subtle difference it makes there. Right, that is it. I'm now going to print this image. So if I go into the print module, I'm going to print it on A3 plus paper. So let's have a look, A3 plus, and I'm going to do it borderless because I want the full. I want to use the full money's worth of my paper. So if I set all the borders here to 0, and then make the image the full size of the paper, and you're going to zoom to fill so it fills out the whole thing. What this zoom to fill button does is you might get little sort of areas of your paper there that the image doesn't cover. If it's a lot, don't click this button because it's just going to distort your image as it stretches it to fit the size of your paper. A tiny little amount like this is not going to make much difference, but it's going to mean that I haven't got to cut that edge off after. Right, if I pop down now to the print job section, I'm not going to add any nameplate or anything. Print resolution I always leave at 300 pixels per inch. Print sharpening at standard because we did sharpen the image in editing. Media type, this is a tricky one for this. This is a pearl paper, so it's not glossy and it's not matte, but I figure it's more glossy than matte. And then we go down here and set the color management to the ICC profile for the paper I want to use. Intent, I always leave a perceptual. Now, what this covers is how the printer deals with colors that are outside its range for printing. Perceptual, I find, gives the most realistic representation of those colors. It kind of averages pixel by pixel and arrives at the sort of best match for the out of gamut color. Print adjustments, I'm not going to make any, but this, in the old days, this is how I would get my prints looking right. I'd run a print off and I think, oh, that's too dark or too light or not contrasty enough, so I'd click this box and I would bugger about with these, but I don't do that anymore because my monitor is now calibrated and I use a much more involved printing process. Right, there we are. So I'm going to press print now and hop over to the printer and get my image off. That was pretty straightforward and pretty easy, I think. And looking at the image hanging up there, I'm quite happy that that is perfectly representative of what I saw on the screen and what I saw that day up on the Black Mountain. What I found now, though, since I've revised my printing process, is that inks are lasting a lot longer because I'm not running off test print after test print with varying results, and that the paper I use is lasting me longer as well because I'm using less of it because I'm making fewer mistakes, obviously. Yeah, so that then is my printing process. I'd love to know in the comments whether you print your work, and if you do, what you do with them. I mean, with mine, I just, some of them do go up on the wall here at home. I'm not big into hanging my own photos on the wall, but Lisa really likes some of the stuff that, some of the photos I take, and we have one huge picture hanging up in the lounge and another huge one hanging up in our bedroom. I think it's a little bit egotistical, to be honest, but she likes them. You've got a couple of others hanging up around, but most of the stuff I print off, I've either got in folders or I've got one of these big sort of artists folio cases, and I put them in there. The papers I use are still largely Canon, to be honest. A4, A3, I use Canon papers. I've just started using PhotoSpeed A3 Plus. This It's like a pearl paper, and it's gorgeous. It really is. And what I'm going to do probably is, when funds allow, is to invest in some brighter type paper and some photo rag, and see what sort of results I can get out of those. Right, I've also bought, let's get it again, a roll of paper. This is 13 inches wide, which is the maximum width for the Canon printer. And what I'm going to do with this is produce some 39 by 13, so some 3:1 aspect ratio panoramas, and print them nice and big. Now I haven't worked out how to do it yet, so that'll probably be some future video. There we are, that's a good idea. Shooting, editing and printing a panorama. Here we are, keep an eye out for that in the next few weeks. There we go. Right, that's it. Oh, that's very rude, isn't it, speaking while off camera. That is it from Dexter and me for this week. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it in some way useful, entertaining, interesting even. If you have, then yeah, great. If you haven't, then it doesn't matter. You probably haven't watched this far anyway. Yeah, let me know in the comments below whether you print your work and then what you do with it. Do you hang it up at home? Do you display it in a gallery? Or do you just, like me, put it in a folder and then get it out once or twice a year and look at your images? Right, that's it. Stay safe, stay well, take care, look after yourselves, and Dexter and I will be back very, very soon. Bye-bye.